Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Hear that? That's a real sip. That's real coffee in that cup. So all the people who are saying it's fake, come on guys. Alright, you guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like those sort of videos, please remember to click a like down below. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. YouTube's been unsubscribing a lot of people lately. I've had a number of people come and say, hey, I realized I've been unsubscribed somehow, so I resubscribed. And remember to click that bell, the notification bell, to ring my bell, baby. But on to current events, on to the point. I just saw a video by the shaman philosopher of YouTube fitness, OmarIsuf, saying strength is not just about the squat, bench, and deadlift. Fundamentally, he's right on that, and I agree with that because I also tell you guys to get all around strong. But it's also important to remember that anyone who is all around strong is going to be good at the squat, bench, and deadlift. That's why powerlifting works as a judge of strength. In other words, that's why powerlifting works as the best judge of brute strength. Notice I didn't say technique, didn't say athleticism, I said brute strength. Because those are lifts that anyone who is strong, top to bottom, at most movement patterns, even if they've never practiced or learned them, a big, strong guy is going to walk in and hit a good total on those. Now, you might be bad at one of the three. You might be really good at one of the three, but the total, that's why powerlifting doesn't care that you bench 500 pounds and someone else benches 300 if they still out-total you. They still beat you. They're a better powerlifter. They're stronger than you. Even if you out-bench them by 200 pounds, but they out-total you by 300. They win. You don't. So, it's a judge of overall strength, and it's a very effective judge of it. Now, that being said, I'm saying that as someone who very rarely does the exact traditional meat legal versions these days, right? I train on a lot of variations, a lot of assistance movements, a lot of special exercises, right? That's what I do these days, but still training for powerlifting because big and strong equals big and strong. Now, Omar is essentially right there in that you don't necessarily need to focus all your efforts into just the competition version of those three as a more advanced lifter. Now, novice lifters, you do need specificity. I would say that the best thing you could possibly do as a novice lifter who doesn't have a strength base. People say, what do you mean a strength base? If you squat 225 for reps, you don't have a strength base, okay? That's what, let's just be honest here. You need to get strong. You guys need specificity. You need to get good, really good at 5 or 6 exercises. Don't worry about anything else. The more advanced you get, the more you can throw that out, and you can worry about just general strength. And what Omar kind of points out, he's working on his pull-ups. And he's like, well, you should treat your accessory movements the same way and try to maximize strength. And I'm going to say accessory movements, not really. Not really. I'm going to disagree with that. Now, I understand that he is trying to treat the pull-up now as an exercise with a 1-rep max strength goal. And what Omar threw out there is something that's a classic protocol for people who want to do one sort of rep and set thing. He's saying, look, he's focusing on getting really good at triples and doing large volumes of triples. I don't have an issue with that. I've prescribed that in the past as a hypertrophy tool for people who want to get really strong without having to go through a separate strength phase to keep their overall strength higher while doing a bunch of big exercises, right? I've called it lift mastery. But what I would say with that is that high volume triples are good for general hypertrophy and build-up phases. They're not good for peaking your strength. And what I would say is that Omar is saying, well, look, I mean, I've done a bunch of stuff. I gained a lot of hypertrophy in my back, doing the higher volume pull-ups, and it hasn't translated to a 1-rep max as much as I want. But I'm like, Omar, your back isn't really that big. I mean, all things considered, I don't know that Omar has added that much to his back doing this. Now, I'm not saying he has a small back. Not saying he has a small back, but I would say in general, if Omar's 1-rep max isn't going up on his pull-ups the way that he wants, he needs to put more size on his back. Size does equal strength, and I think that he is over, what's the word I'm looking for? I think he's exaggerated in his own mind the amount of size that he's gained on his back with the pull-ups. And therefore, he doesn't have the 1-rep max strength that he wants because he hasn't done that. And here's what I would say. Triples, the way he's doing them, is not going to increase his max as much as he thinks it is. He's going to have to get his back bigger. That's the only way, and he's going to have to train maximum strength. And what people need to understand, maximum strength is maximum strength. Okay? You will not build your 1 rep max strength off of triples. Not to the degree that you think you will. You'll build it slightly better than you will with 8s. But let's just be realistic here. I'm watching what Omar's doing with triples, and let's say, I don't know what he weighs. He says his goal is to get to 150 pounds on the weighted pull-up, plus his body weight. Well, I watched his triples with 95 pounds. What he is doing is not going to get him to that goal. Okay? What he is doing right there in that video is not going to get him to that goal. And the reason I say that, he's only doing 1 good rep. So in other words, if your goal is to use heavier weights to improve a specific performance element of max strength, all your reps need to look like your max. In other words, he's falling back to just trying to do heavier hypertrophy work because he's not working the full range of motion. And let's put it in perspective. Let's say he weighs 180 pounds and he's doing sets of 95 pounds for 3. He's short stroking his 2nd and 3rd rep. The only one that's counting is the one that he starts at the bottom on the 1st rep, because that's what's going to transfer over. Unless you talk about a pull-up where you're going to come over and drop into the pull-up with an eccentric and reverse it 1 inch from the bottom, which is what he's doing, or even 3 inches or 4 inches from the bottom, because he's not going all the way down. Unless that is what you're going to do and count as a pull-up, and I wouldn't count it as a 1 rep max, because you got to pull it from the bottom, then he's not going to get the carryover from the 2nd and 3rd rep. So essentially, you're going to see is he's doing 95 pounds plus 180. So that's 275. I'm going to say at best what he's training right now, unless his back continues to get bigger with more hypertrophy training, maybe 5% more. This is what I'm going to call it. 288 minus, say, if it's his 180 body weight, I'm going to say he's going to get up to about 108 pounds on there, not 150. That's my prediction. If this is his method he's going to use to get there. And it's because realistically the only one that's really counting is the 1st rep. He's not getting full carryover. If a person comes to me and says, I want to develop maximum strength on a movement pattern, you need to do heavy singles in that movement pattern. Okay? I go so far as to say that I think more and more for people who are going to do hybrid training, hybrid rep ranges, because that's also what Omar's talking about. If you're going to do hybrid rep ranges, I don't think you need much, if anything, in the 3 to 5 rep range. I don't think they're particularly useful for your heavy work. Do singles. And then do your volume. So if we're going to talk about, hey, we need volume, additional training volume for muscular endurance and hypertrophy and everything else, okay, fine. Do volume. If you need maximum strength, do maximum strength. You need to go above 90% of your 1 rep max routinely. I would push in the direction of saying if you took an exercise, an assistance movement like the pull-up, and you wanted to maximize your 1 rep max on it, train it to a max and then do 8s, 10s for volume and get progressively stronger at those 8s and 10s. Get to where you're doing those weighted. Do heavy single. That you need to actually train maximum strength. If you have a maximum strength goal on an exercise, it is not a technique-oriented lift. And the pull-up doesn't have much technique. You need to actually practice every week hitting at least a training max on it. And Omar knows this. He's promoted Bulgarian training. He knows this is the case. He's promoted the whole Bulgarian training manual. Omar, you know that heavy singles are the only way to do that. And, I mean, let's be realistic here. Trying to train maximum strength while doing large volumes of triples, of heavy triples, is actually going to be really hard also. It's hard to recover from that. If you're going to run a general program, like if you were to come to me in a late novice and early intermediate wants to run high volume triples as what I call like lift mastery, hey, that's great. but that means that's what you do, right? That is your training. That is your overall training. You can do that somewhat with concurrent training. You can have a heavy day and then a volume triple day, and I've used that successfully in the past. I mean, you can do it that way, but if your goal is to maximize strength, like you have a decent base built, you actually have to train with maximum weight. You need to, threes cannot give you maximum weight. Well, they are for Omar because he's not doing true triples. He's short stroking reps 2 and 3. Okay, he's doing partials on those. So it probably really is close to maximum strength. He is within 5% of his maximum strength actually on that first rep. And if he's not going to get the carryover he wants because now he's just doing light pump work. In other words, if he's a lot stronger, if Omar can put more than 110 pounds on there and do a single, those triples he's doing are really no different from doing 8s. He's just doing them as cluster sets. And that's also not going to help him any more than just doing 8s. He's just wasting time. Just my opinion on it. So again, there's a lot of ways you could look at this, a lot of ways you could look at it. But again, we're talking about with individual movement patterns. In general, though, a big, strong guy is a big, strong guy. So as far as the title, his clickbait title goes, strength is not just a squat, bench, and deadlift. I agree with that. But I will also point out that even though strength is specific, anyone who is big and strong will be good at the squat, bench, and deadlift by default. Okay? Even if you haven't particularly practiced those specific movements, because size and strength equals size and strength. A big, strong man is a big, strong man. Perspective. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.